Well, after another 6 months, we're finally back. I know that I've disappointed many of you, as in our last video I promised that we'd be trying to get back to more regular content. As you can tell, I couldn't have been more wrong, unless you guys want to see videos every 6 months. I'm guessing you don't though, and I'd like to apologize for that. Going forward, we here at Weirdflix are going to do our best to ensure that we actually get you regular content out. That being said, we still have to make amends for our lack of content. And to do that, I knew the movie that we came back on would have to be something special. It would have to be touching, heartwarming, entertaining, comedic, action-packed, and just a general great time. A movie that really makes you feel. Now, assuming you've read the title of this video, you've likely noticed the title of this movie is Carousel 2. Now you're probably asking yourself, Chris, I remember Carousel. It was a movie about a murderous carousel horse running around a party murdering teens and fostering half-human, half-carousel horse children. This is a sequel to that? How can it possibly be all those adjectives you just listed? Well, friends, I'm being entirely sincere when I tell you that this is probably one of the most touching movies I've seen in my entire life. And I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes or so trying to convince you that you need to watch this movie. I don't want to delay any longer. You've been waiting 6 months for this, so let's just get into it. Now, for those of you who may have forgotten what Carousel is about, I'll remind you.
I'm Duke, the prettiest goddamn unicorn in the world. And if you disagree, I swear I will murder the shit out of you.
Caroushell is the story of Duke, a sentient carousel horse who breaks free of his chains to wreak his revenge upon those who have treated him so poorly, namely a bratty kid and the friends of his sisters at the party he's at, plus a few bystanders. There's kind of a story, some throwaway lines about Duke's history with the Nazis, and some very disturbing, shall we say, content between Duke and some of the other characters that we're not going to mention here because this is a family channel. Stop laughing, we are a family channel. Anyways, Carousel isn't exactly what I would have called fine cinema, but Carousel 2 is different. It's one of few sequels I've ever seen that have improved vastly over the original by most metrics.
I used to be stuck on a carousel, letting brats climb on my back day after day. But a few years ago, I finally woke up and broke free of that spinning prison.
The writing is mostly better. The acting is definitely better. There's real emotion being put into the lines. The effects are somewhat better, which we'll get into a bit. There's an overarching story. There's, thrills, chills. I laughed, I cried. I can't describe fully how this movie made me feel. It almost has to be experienced. Enough beating around the bush. Let's take a ride on Carousel 2. Now, Carousel 1 took place in the modern day, so I'm assuming this is going to pick off right after the cliffhanger of the last movie in 1944. Okay, I guess we're in World War II. And due to the fact that we're in World War II, there are Nazis involved. Here we see two scientists, Ilsa and Klaus, discussing the after effects of one of their experiments.
Yes. Carousel Unicorn. You know what happened to the other experiments.
It's the end of the war and the Allies are closing in, and these two need to figure out a way to escape so that they can continue their, shall we say, otherworldly experiments. More on that later. We then fast forward to modern day where, well, it seems that's Ilsa again, and some random guy. I'm not quite sure how she's alive right now. Based on my understanding of human aging and how time passes, she should be, carry the 3, dead. Now, what's going on in the scene I can't really show you, so I'm going to put it in simplest terms. The gentleman gets his soul sucked out. And that's not an innuendo. As a break from all that action, we cut to the opening credits of the movie, after which we finally see Duke for the first time. Duke is, shall we say, trying to move on with his life after the ghastly events of the last film. He's telling us that he's on his way to meet someone from his past, and frankly, I can't imagine who it is. It seems he's killed most of the people that he's come across.
Dad!
Oh. He's going to meet his son. This creature is Robbie, Duke's illegitimate child from the woman who loved My Little Pony from the last movie. He's been adopted by Laurie, the mother of the 2 main characters from the previous movie. As you may recall, she happened upon Robbie in an after-credit scene from the last film. Not sure if I'd have adopted that thing, but she's a better person than I am. Duke didn't know Robbie existed and wants to try to get involved with his life. It's actually a very noble goal for someone who, up to this point, we've seen brutally slaughter 90% of the people he's come in contact with. While this heartfelt reunion is going on, we cut back to the Nazi HQ. You can tell this because there's a giant Nazi flag, as well as a picture of, I think, Hitler in the background. Real subtle stuff. We're introduced to 2 new characters, Otto and Katrina, the hired help of our scientists Ilsa and Otto from earlier. They're discussing about how they want to find Duke because, well, he's the most successful experiment they conducted during the war, using the magic of the old ones or something. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not entirely clear what's happening, and I'll try to explain it as time goes on in this review, but you're probably gonna walk away from this pretty confused. I'd also like to take a moment here to just kind of illustrate my dream of becoming an American hot dog salesman. Yeah, get used to that zaniness, it's not going away. After that trouble in paradise at Nazi HQ, we cut back to Duke and Robbie looking through photos of young Robbie. This would be touching if I didn't hate the way Robbie and baby pictures of Robbie looked. I gotta give them credit though, it looks like they took that model from the first movie, you remember this one? And used it to actually set up these Halloween and Christmas baby photos. It's an attention to detail you wouldn't see in a lot of, shall we say, low-budget movies, but I give them a big hand for it. That clearly took some effort. I'm wondering how many more times I can show that clip of Robbie from the first movie in this review. Hoping it's more than 2. During this walk down memory lane, Robbie tries to find out a little more about Duke and asks if he was a soldier, after which we're treated to this. I can say that that's the first time I've seen a carousel horse have a PTSD-related flashback. Robbie also goes to get Duke a picture he drew of him and Duke, and I have to say, for a kid with no hands and hooves, he sure can draw. A lot better than anything I can do. After this, we're treated to an honestly very touching monologue of Duke being a good father to Robbie. He takes him to the park, takes him swimming, they go to see Santa Claus. He even has time to murder a Karen in the park for complaining about them.
Sorts of families that are coming here this summer. Oh.
Hey, Robbie, here's a couple of dollars. Could you go get you and your old man a couple of sodas?
Okay.
He even does it without his kid around. That's really touching. And it's nice to see a father being able to keep up with his hobbies. Sometimes having kids, you lose a bit of yourself, but Duke's managed to hold on to what he's truly passionate about, and I applaud him for that. After this honestly touching montage of Duke being a good father to Robbie, he's tucking him into bed at night and tells him about a nightmare he's been having.
That's my favorite unicorn, Mommy.
One day, I use dark magic and make that unicorn the strongest soldier in the whole world.
Of course you will, young Adolf Hitler. Of course you will.
Yeah, this scene doesn't really tie into anything else. I just really wanted to show off that. Bet you weren't expecting to see that today, were ya? We then cut to a scene of Duke taking Robbie to the zoo where, oh my goodness, it's Klaus from earlier. Let's see how Klaus handles this tense interaction.
So, 2 hot dogs?
Yes, of course. 2 hot dogs. That is what I do for a living, of course. Name's Tom.
Yeah, so my son wants mustard, I want...
I grew up in Wichita, Kansas. Well, just outside of it. My father had a beef farm. Mom worked part-time in the city.
Interesting. So I want relish, brown mustard, and...
I went into the city a lot growing up. And there was this kind old man. His name was David. But everyone knew him as Uncle Davy. And he ran Uncle Davy's footlongs on South Broadway Street. Whenever I felt sad or Dad was in the mood, Mom would take me to Uncle Davy's. They always made me feel so much better. When I was 12 years old, I knew that one day I wanted to grow up to sell hot dogs and make other folks full and happy.
As a former actor, now current writer/actor/director/producer myself, I mean this with the fullest sincerity when I say actors. Klaus runs back to Nazi HQ to report this Duke sighting where the others come up with a plan to kidnap him with Klaus as the point man. Let's see how that plays out.
Well, I grew up in Wheeling, West Virginia.
Oh, no.
I grew up with a circus family. Almost all of my relatives were clowns. Whenever there was a circus in town, I was in charge of filling up the balloons. Whenever Uncle Paul would hand out balloons or make balloon animals, I always saw the smile on the other kids' faces. So I'm sure you're wondering, Steve, why didn't you become a clown?
I am not wondering that at all. I only want to buy balloons.
Well, a lot of people don't realize how difficult clown college is. I sure did try, as any American child born in America would, but I could not get past the juggling. But I always remember those balloon memories. So that's when I realized, Steve, why not become a balloon salesman? Skip all of the clowning parts. That way, I can sell my balloons cheap and make kids as happy as possible.
Okay, so this is 2 times that Klaus has come up with a long, elaborate backstory for a disguise. Based on what I understand about writing, I'm sure that's never going to come up again. Also, unfortunately, Klaus's plan to kidnap Robbie by giving him so many balloons he floats away is unsuccessful, unsurprisingly, and they have to come up with another option.
Dad!
Whoa there, Slugger. What's the emergency?
Can I join Trail Buddies?
What's that?
Trail Buddies!
It's where you go camping and they teach you how to do stuff like make fires or look for food and stuff. This was in the mail.
Well, points for originality, I guess. Let's see how these fake Boy Scouts play out.
I'm Buddy, and here is where the trail can become your buddy too.
Where is everyone else?
Unfortunately, interest is pretty low. Kids these days would rather play video games or be on their phones than become one with nature.
Still, this turnout seems ridiculous. There has to be more kids into this, if not parents forcing their kids to do this. How much advertising did you do?
We made one flyer.
We received the only flyer you made?
Apparently.
As a former Boy Scout myself, I have to point out the accuracy in this scene. Recruitment was a real issue in my troop. In fact, after I joined, it seemed like everybody was quitting. We also get a cute little joke about knots here.
Thanks. Mom already taught me a lot of rope knots growing up.
Your mother knows a lot about knots.
Yeah, she said she learned it all from her old dancing job. I don't know what dancing has to do with tying ropes, though.
Robbie, remind me to talk about this with your mother later.
I give them points for not going for the easy not see joke here, but I just don't understand what Duke is talking about. So Klaus has tricked Robbie into tying Duke up as a way to practice knots. With Duke currently tied up, Robbie is lured into the woods and brained upside the head with a stick by Klaus. Who could have seen this coming? Duke has an epiphany while he's tied up that the guy who has listed his backstory to him 3 times in the past 2 days is all the same guy.
Please! Trail Buddies is my dream! I've been wanting to do this ever since I was a little boy in Louisville, Texas.
Ay, not again.
I love nature so much. It was like heaven growing up near the nature reserve on Louisville Lake. I would always explore the trails every day. I knew those woods better than anybody. But when I tried joining, I realized how much they didn't support people like me. Even as a kid, I was different, and they didn't want me. I went against their rules. So, when I was 14, I knew that I wanted to create the Trail Buddies one day. An all-inclusive organization.
Oh, right. How could I forget about the rule of 3s? If something's not funny the first time, you do it 2 more times to make sure it's not funny. Back at Nazi HQ, they're having a discussion about what to do with Robbie. You see, he's special because, well, none of them had predicted that Duke would be able to have kids, given that he's, a carousel horse. Frankly, I don't think anybody else would have suspected that either. They're debating if Robbie's worth more dead and alive. Ilsa believes that he needs to be killed, but Otto steps in.
What I meant to say was, if we damage the child too much, we will have no leverage over Duke. He should be not just bait, but ein shield, or we could use him to force Duke to surrender.
I'd like to take a moment here to mention that Otto has a secret that's going to be revealed very soon. I'd like those of you who are watching to comment down below what you think Otto's secret is. I'm curious if anyone can guess it, because I was honestly blindsided when I figured it out. Good luck to those of you who are trying. It's decided that Robbie will be kept alive as a way to bait Duke to the Nazi hideout, and frankly, I can't fault their logic. Of course, that doesn't mean he's going to be unharmed. Yeah, that's probably one of the most uncomfortable things I've seen today. Back at Duke's house, he's having a bit of an emotional time, having been the sole cause of Robbie getting kidnapped. Lori tries to console him, and we really see how Duke is trying to be a good father. The fact that he feels so bad about this is real character growth. It's not something I would have expected from a man who made one-liners while murdering people in the last. They're interrupted by a knock at the door, and Duke suspects it's the
That must be the
guy.
Pete's Pizza delivering the pretty pizza pie I ordered. Covered in edible glitter for only $1 more. It's so innovative. No wonder they were voted in the top 40 pizza places in the county.
Please be the pizza guy from the last movie. Please be the pizza guy from the last movie. Please be the pizza guy from the last movie.
It's been a long time, Duke.
No. It's just Otto. I don't know what I was thinking. Pizza guy was killed in the last movie anyways. Duke is rightfully angry at Otto for having helped kidnap his son, but Otto's here with a confession.
You took my son.
Yeah?
You did this to me. You had no choice. You were forced.
You see, Otto is not exactly your willing Nazi scientist. I'll let him explain.
Why didn't you leave?
It was not just my life I was afraid for. My family. And the man that I loved.
The man?
Oh, cowboy. I was not considered pure for the Nazis. Ilsa took pleasure in that too. If I tried to leave, he would have been sent to a far worse fate than I. And these days, well, when you're in an abusive relationship long enough, your sense of will just breaks.
So, tell me, did anyone have gay Nazi on their bingo cards? Because I didn't. Otto's decided to come help Duke because Duke was always nice to him back during the war.
I didn't realize.
You did. Before you forgot who you were. You used to be so kind to me. Learning things about me. It's why what we did to you hurt so much more.
And frankly, through this interaction, I can kind of see it. I dare say there's even some chemistry there.
You're here now, you're trying to make things right. That's what matters. I won't forget this or what you're trying to do.
I have not been touched with love in nearly a century. When I could no longer see Ben, you were there for me.
What else do I not remember about us?
Let me show you.
Take me somewhere far away.
Okay, maybe too much chemistry. I can't show you this next part for obvious reasons, but if you woke up today and thought that you'd see a gay Nazi scientist and a homicidal carousel horse, you clearly lead a very different life than I do. After that touching love scene, Duke and Otto come up with a plan to go rescue Robbie. However, the Nazis aren't just waiting around. They've hired some muscle. Duke and Otto, outside of the Nazi headquarters, come up with a plan of attack, and Duke reveals something very important about himself.
Haven't you killed a lot of people since you were Vulcan?
Sure, yeah, I'm not a good person, but I kill indiscriminately. I'm sure I've killed someone who was Jewish, but I would never kill someone because they're Jewish. That's just way more sinister.
I gotta give Duke a big hand for this. You know, it is so great to see such a progressive murderer. Someone who's killing just because, not because of who you are, but because they want to. It's a real step in the right direction, and I gotta give him credit for that. We're then treated to a montage of Duke going around and murdering the nameless henchman. I can't show you too much of it because I don't want this video to get flagged, but I must applaud them because a lot of their effects really got stepped up in this new movie. For the most part. Some of them are, shall we say, a bit odd. What I can tell you about this part is, well, Duke's sense of humor has clearly taken a hit.
Looks like you're in the right place at the wrong time. You need to fight for your right to party. Well, I guess two wrongs do make a right.
I appreciate you trying to keep a theme going with the same joke throughout, but come on, man, could we get a little variety here? Do the right thing. Duke and Otto manage to fight their way up to Ilsa, the final boss, and Otto, for once, steps up to fight Ilsa.
Good to see you again, Duke. And Otto, I'm not surprised.
I will no longer be your toy. I am here for Duke, and we are going to save his son.
Are you now?
And is then promptly given a heart attack because of Ilsa's
It means a favor of bringing
powers.
you to me early.
So, apparently, because of the research Ilsa was doing, she gained magic powers from the old ones. I don't know what the old ones are, but based on the fact that Nazis were referenced in the last movie, and they're the bad guys of this one, I have a feeling we're going to see Duke fighting some eldritch abominations in Carousel 3. I should also mention that at this point in the movie, we know that Duke is not a normal carousel horse. He's a part of a series of experiments where human souls were put into objects as a form of super soldiers. I don't know why a carousel horse would be a super soldier, but based on Duke's body count over the last 2 movies, I clearly don't know anything about military strategy. Duke and Ilsa fight, but he's clearly outmatched. That is until Robbie shoots laser beams from his eyes. If you woke up this morning and thought that you'd see a half-human, half-carousel hybrid firing laser beams out of his eyes at a magic Nazi, you need to get some help. Duke manages to distract Ilsa long enough for Robbie to deal the killing blow, which unfortunately I can't show you due to the graphic nature of it. They've really stepped up their effects from the last movie. All I can say is, it puts Raiders of the Lost Ark to shame. Duke then saves Robbie and takes him home, and unfortunately Duke rides off into the sunset. You see, he doesn't want to endanger his newfound family, so he's off to ensure that he has no enemies left, be they Nazis, whoever the cowboy from the last movie was, or other objects with people's souls stuffed inside them. It's honestly very touching to see him make this sacrifice for his son, and further goes to prove Duke's change in character from the last movie. And with that, it looks like we've finished our ride on the carousel. Wait a second. What's that?
You just keep going. You don't stop. You never stop. You don't stop. You never ever stop. You just keep killing, and nobody is stopping you. Just someone needs to stop you. You need to be stopped. Nobody cares. Nobody took them away from me. I didn't do something. I couldn't get home in time. I'm coming. I'm coming. It's your fault. It's your fault.
You chose a poor weapon.
It's the pizza guy. It's the pizza guy. He's back. Oh, he's back. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Oh, Carousel 3. Now that's how you end a movie. It's hard to describe my feelings about Carousel 2. It's obviously a low-budget independent movie, which is our bread and butter here on the channel, but the touching nature and real emotion packed into some of the scenes isn't something we've really covered before. Duke changing from a quipping, foul-mouthed, murderous carousel horse to a father who's trying his best despite his past to raise his son is truly something to behold. This is up there with shows like The Mandalorian and The Last of Us in terms of showing father-child relations. If you're into something like that, I highly recommend this movie. If you're into low-budget schlock, I highly recommend this movie. There are parts of it that can feel a bit slow or poorly written. Some of the Nazi scenes aren't great, and if you're not into the father-son stuff or the schlocky action parts, you're likely going to be bored during those sections. But I truly believe that this movie is worth a watch. It's one of the better movies I've ever seen in almost every way. And because of that, I'm going to give Carousel 2 a W rating. It's truly one of the better movies I've seen, and I think everybody needs to watch it. Suffice to say, I'm very excited for Carousel 3, which is releasing later this year, and I can't wait to review that one. Speaking of Carousel 3, Mr. Rudzinski, sir, if you need any actors, I happen to be available, and my rates are very affordable. Just, email me, leave a comment. We'll get together, all right? All right. Thank you all very much for watching this third reboot of Weirdflix. I promise this time I'm gonna do my best to make it stick. I can't promise uploads on the same day every week, but we're gonna try to get out about one video a week, so look forward to that. If we fall short, try not to hold it against me. That being said, I would like to thank all of you for your patience waiting for this episode. I know a lot of you out there have been begging for another Weirdflix, and for those of you that haven't, too bad. We'll never quit. Join us next time when we'll be covering literally anything. I mean, sky's the limit after a movie like this. Thanks for watching, and remember, Weirdflix watches what no one else will.